Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumful Reads, and in this video we're going to be doing a book review of Radioactive Evolution by Richard Hummel. I was sent this book by a marketing agency, and actually usually I turn down fiction or fantasy book review requests in general. However, they did offer me the chance to listen to it in audiobook format and review it basically as an audiobook, which actually for me works out really well because a lot of the fantasy books that I consume are in audiobook format. I just enjoy kind of listening to the story rather than compared to like nonfiction. I much prefer reading like actual books, I guess, with nonfiction and kind of listening to fiction, if that makes any sense. With that in mind, I did say yes. I've never been offered an audiobook before either, so I thought that's kind of cool. So yeah, I agreed to do it, and obviously this is still going to be an unbiased and honest review, like always. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I was kind of nervous because it's like a mishmash, or like a mashup of science fiction, fantasy, and lit RPG, which I've heard good and bad things about lit RPG. And this is like the first lit RPG type of work I guess I've ever finished. So I guess I don't have much to like compare it to in that aspect, but I thought it was kind of just like an interesting sort of mashup. We have the science fiction elephants, or I think I just said science fiction elephants. I meant elements. We have the sci-fi elements going on because essentially the setting is a dystopian post-apocalyptic world. I think roughly like 1,000 years in the future, something like that. Essentially, there's been like a nuclear war on Earth, something to that effect, where radiation poisoning is like a constant threat for people that are still living on the surface of the planet. However, pretty much the aristocrats and all the rich people and stuff live in apparently like these giant floating cities, like up in the air, and they don't have to worry so much about kind of this like permeating radiation everywhere. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And like, for example, just one aspect of that is people have to take these nanite injections every so often. Otherwise, their cells will degrade too fast from the radiation and essentially just die from like radiation poisoning or something along those lines. So I thought that was kind of a cool effect here with the sci-fi. We have fantasy elements, basically because we have creatures and mythological creatures and sort of like radiation creatures that have basically are living on the planet. First of all, we do have dragons. Like, one of the main character is a sentient dragon that has a bond with the main character, this human explorer named Jared. But there are also like mutant giant rats. They're essentially kind of like dinosaur-ish type things. There's like lab experiments going on. So we do have several fantasy elements as well. And then with the lit RPG factors kind of going into play is basically there is a bond between, like I said, the main character Jared, who is a scavenger explorer human, and Scarlet, this dragon that he basically discovers early on in the book. And they have like sort of this special bond, and apparently these dragons are really old. And I mentioned the nanite injections a little bit earlier. Nanites have become sort of like a daily facet of life, I guess, if that makes sense. But with the special bond between these two, well, I say two creatures, the human and the dragon, basically they are able to, what's the right word I'm looking for? Allocate or be able to utilize their nanites in very specific ways to enhance their attributes. And at first I thought, I was kind of like, oh no, this is like the lit RPG stuff kind of coming in, like video game stuff or whatever. But it was interesting because it's not just like, for example, you don't like allocate your nanites to like strength or speed or like things generic like that. They're very like specific tasks, like muscle density, I guess. Things like hardening your skin, hypercognition, things like that. So they're actually very specific, and it's kind of interesting, like because at first I was kind of nervous about that to begin with. But anyway, so there's kind of like the mashup of the different genres and stuff. Let's start with some of the things I didn't like about the book, and then we'll move on to the positives of the book. So first of all, there's two main things that that turned me a little bit off from the book. The first one deals with sort of these nanites and stuff. I didn't mind that, like, killing the creatures instead of, like, gaining experience points like a lot of games, I guess. That's like kind of how you level up and stuff. Like in this one, basically you can take, like, from a dead body, you can basically take their nanites. And obviously, since they can, Scarlet and Jared can use their nanites to, like, enhance their abilities or whatever, they can basically absorb them into their own body, which is fine. That was fine enough. The problem was basically, like, whenever, they kind of hit a pass, or like kind of not a dead end in the plot, but like sort of, and it was almost like you could see it, like, kind of setting up, this was like kind of the area, and there's, like, a local boss type animal or creature or whatever that they had to kill. And eventually, like, when they do it, they get, like, so many nanites that they can basically just, like, ramp up their abilities, like, a ton to get to the next level. I thought that was kind of predictable, I guess, in a way. That part wasn't, I guess, more of the pacing, I guess, in that instance, if that makes sense. Like, the action was actually pretty cool, the way it was described and everything, but it was just sort of, you knew it was kind of like a slight grind in, like, this little, whatever area they happened to be in, and then there's, like, this enemy that they have to go out and kill, and every now and then, whenever they got to so many nanites, there was, like, a little bit of an info dump kind of describing, like, different abilities and stuff that they could. I kind of wish it was kind of left a little bit more vague, for example, like with the muscle density thing, because there was sort of like sort of just like muscular size and like muscular density, things like that, which they kind of like left it like a little more abstract, maybe not abstract, but not explain what each little thing did, so that way it was a little less immersive in a way. But actually, with the lit RPG elements, it was pretty few and far between, I guess, from what I was expecting anyways for a lit RPG, because I guess not reading lit RPG, I thought it was from the understanding, I guess the whole book was sort of like a simulated game type thing. It definitely is not like that. It's more of a science fiction book with a couple like lit RPG elements kind of thrown in there for flavor more than the other way around, if that makes sense. And the only other real aspect of the book that I didn't enjoy a whole lot was Jared's character development. And let me explain why. Basically, like I said, Jared is an explorer scavenger. So pretty much the little colonies and settlements that are left on Earth have to gather resources for the cities that like take their like airships, pick up like the raw materials, and then just like fly off and stuff. So everyone's sort of under the thumb of these like rich folk living in like the sky cities. So that's actually a pretty cool premise. So you have like kind of like explorer scavengers that kind of go out into the wilderness, abandoned cities like New York City, for example. That's like really dangerous and stuff, looking for like resources and stuff. So that's cool and all. He's had like a really turbulent past, like seeing like his father get like destroyed by like mutant bears and watching his mother die of like radiation poisoning and stuff. He's kind of gone off on his own for like a couple of years as this grim, hardcore scavenger explorer dude, which is cool. Except like a lot of the times during the course of the story, he doesn't come across as like this guy who's like seen a lot and has had a ton of rough life experiences. Like he seems like it's like a coming of age story, except he's already like grown up and done all like the hard like grim stuff in his past. So it just felt it was kind of like a disconnect. Like anytime like someone tried to harm him, he was always like really optimistic and naive about trying to help people and this and that, and it just didn't quite click, I guess, if that makes any sense, considering he's supposed to already be like this rough and tumble lone wolf guy living out in this radioactive wilderness for like a couple years now. So I thought that was a little bit of a disconnect. Now moving on to the things I did like about the book. Like I said, I liked how the lit RPG elements were spaced out quite a bit in a way, or they were done in a way that wasn't over the top, in the sense of they had to get experience points and like level up that way. Like it was just more of like a natural part of the setting at that point, or the way it's described and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool, and kind of the bond between Jared and Scarlet, I thought that was kind of cool. It was very Aragon-esque. That makes sense. Basically like talking with their minds and stuff. But it was interesting seeing how like basically Scarlet has the upper hand because she's like older, even though she's younger in the sense of being born not that long ago, but she was sentient while she was like an egg for like several hundred years. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then you have a lot of like kind of weird, not weird concepts, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Unique, maybe not unique either, like, I don't know, just esoteric concepts going on. Basically you have like humans, like secret humans kind of doing experiments on different organisms, both like dragons and other people, and like radioactive stuff kind of going on in like secret underground labs. I thought that was pretty cool. Some of the monsters are like insane, like this giant, basically dune worm type thing kind of going on. And like I said, the action is paced out really good. And it seems pretty, I think it was pretty well done with the abilities that they are given based on the plot of the book. Whereas they start off, like, for example, Jared starts off basically, it's just like another guy, basically a human. And it ramps up to becoming more powerful. And it didn't seem like he was basically super unbeatable. I mean, towards the end, obviously, he's starting, you kind of get the feel he's getting OP. But it does seem the book is set up where it's going to get a lot harder in future installments in the series. I'm not actually, I can't remember off the top of my head what the series is actually called. I don't remember actually seeing if it's a trilogy or if it's just gonna be like a longer series and stuff. But it is definitely possible for like Jared to like die pretty much at any point because he's still basically just like a human. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like pretty well done. So anyways, like I said, overall, there's definitely some flaws with the book. I think some of it, like the info dump, and sort of the coming of age thing won't be kind of an issue in future installments. I think those will pretty much be taken care of. So it's definitely set up to be even better in the next couple installments in the series. Overall, I'm going to give Radioactive Evolution a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And it definitely didn't scare me away from like Lit RPG. I was kind of nervous, like I said at the beginning, kind of not really sure what I was getting into. But like I said, overall, a little bit more positive than negative with the book. 3.5 stars to Radioactive Evolution. Tell me what your guys' thoughts are on this book. If you guys think you will be picking up. I think if you do like Lit RPG as sort of a genre, especially if you like post-apocalyptic or dystopian settings, I think you'll definitely enjoy this book. I encourage you guys to go check it out. So 3.5 stars to Richard Hummel's Radioactive Evolution. And always remember, whatever you guys end up reading, read victoriously.